It's pretty obvious that Minecraft is one of the most influential video games of all time. But when a game reaches an extreme level of popularity, fans will always begin to ask, what's next? Well, believe it or not, a follow-up to Minecraft was being developed by the game's original creator, Notch, and it was set to take place in deep space. Titled 10 to the Sea, it was going to be a space exploration sandbox game with similarities to Minecraft, but despite being developed for several years, it was never finished. Mojang officially canceled the project over 7 years ago, and a true follow-up was never made by its creator. So the question is, why? Why was 10 to the Sea canceled? Certainly another sandbox game by Mojang would be insanely popular. Fans even nicknamed it the Minecraft sequel in space. Well, there's a reason it failed, and it's quite a fascinating story. Today we're taking an in-depth look at the history of Mojang's Minecraft follow-up, why it was canceled, and how unexpected fame and success caused problems for both Notch and the game's development. There is a lot to discuss today, so let's get started. In November of 2011, Minecraft had its official 1.0 release. A few weeks later, Notch announced that he was stepping down as the lead developer of the game to work on a new untitled project. Many fans began to speculate as to what this mystery project would be. For the first part of 2012, while the rest of the Mojang team continued working on Minecraft, Notch was inside his office quietly coding his new project. In just 2 years, he had gone from unknown game dev to internet celebrity, attracting a massive fan base with equally massive expectations. He knew there would be tons of eyes on him, so there was pressure from day one. It wasn't until April of 2012 that the first details about his new game were revealed. It was going to be a sandbox-styled game that would take place in space. The player would assume the role of an astronaut leaving planet Earth in the year 1988. Due to a bug in the ship's computer, instead of going into a deep sleep for a few years, the ship's crew would instead be asleep for 281 trillion years. In many programming languages, the hexadecimal version of this number is 0x10c, which ended up being the title of the game. Notch pronounced it 10 to the Sea, but said people were free to pronounce it however they wanted. The player's ship would have a working 16-bit processor on board, which would play a major role in the gameplay. The player could control different aspects of their ship using it, such as how much power they were using, where they would be headed, and could also use it to load external programs outside the game. It was a very interesting concept. The game's art style was going to be slightly pixelated and low resolution, similar to Minecraft, but with more sophisticated 3D objects. Keeping the art style simple allowed them to focus more on the gameplay. Combat in the game was first-person shooter-based. Seen here is one of the earliest multiplayer tests of the game, with Notch fighting Jeb and other Mojang employees. The combat was fast-paced and fun. Around this time, Notch was actually live streaming himself coding the game, which caused fans to become even more excited. From here, he announced what was going to be added to the game. It was expected to be the first Mojang game with a monthly fee for online play. This was because additional servers were needed to emulate all computers and physics in the ships, even when players weren't logged in. Both single and multiplayer would actually be connected together by something called the multiverse. Your ship could be used in either mode. He wanted the game to have a focus on engineering. For example, if you were trying to hide your ship from an enemy, you would have to dim the lights and focus most of your power on a cloaking device to stay hidden. Space battles and random encounters could be against AI or other players. While traveling, you could come across abandoned ships filled with loot. Eventually, Notch wanted to add planets that you could land on to go mining and harvest resources. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? But the game would have an advanced economy system that could be used in both single and multiplayer. The player customization was very bare bones, but eventually would be fleshed out more. C418, the composer of Minecraft's music, was brought on board for the new space project. He would often go for long walks in his hometown and think about what it meant to compose space music, as it was a genre he had never attempted before. The lore of the game was expanded. Players would start to wake up to a universe on the brink of extinction, with all remote galaxies forever lost to redshift, star formation long since ended, and massive black holes dominating the galaxy. It was going to give the player an incredibly isolated feeling, similar to how Minecraft was in the early days. It seemed that all of the pieces were falling into place. 10 to the Sea was looking to be a promising follow-up to Minecraft. So, what happened? Why are we not playing this game right now? Well, it's because of 2013, the year that would spell disaster for the game's development. 2013 was when Minecraft was at its absolute peak of its first wave of popularity. Notch had become a household name all across the world. There were millions of eyes on him, waiting for the next masterpiece to be made. Around April of that year, he announced that he was pausing development of the game. He explained to several news outlets that after the success of Minecraft, there was a lot of pressure to meet fan expectations with his new game, and that pressure had caused him to hit a creative roadblock that he just couldn't get rid of. The game in its current state was not as fun to play as he would have liked, and would require members of the Minecraft team to switch projects just to finish the intended features, and interfering with Minecraft's ongoing success was not something Notch wanted. 10 to the Sea would be put on ice until he could overcome his mental roadblock. But for an entire year, there was radio silence. The fan community surrounding the game began to wonder if it was ever going to come out. During this time, Notch was very open about his struggles with dealing with his rapid rise to fame. Imagine baking a cake, but millions of people are watching you do it and pointing out every imperfection that it has. It was too much, and this pressure came to a head when in 2014, Notch came under fire from fans for making changes to Minecraft's EULA, which changed how servers could make money. The fan backlash finally pushed him over the edge. Notch would sell Minecraft to Microsoft for $2.5 billion and depart the company. A few days after the announcement, C418 ended up releasing 2 tracks that he had composed for the 10 to the Sea soundtrack. It was the first piece of news about the game in over a year, but he confirmed what everyone already knew. The game was officially canceled. Notch would spend the next few years surrounded by controversy and would never release a fully fledged game ever again. 10 to the Sea was the closest he had come to making a Minecraft follow-up, but the immense pressure from fans as well as his own personal struggles prevented the game from ever being released in any capacity. It's disappointing that we never got our Minecraft sequel in space, but looking back, it makes sense why the game failed. Notch's struggle to release the game is a classic example of an artist creating a masterpiece, then having to deal with the pressure of surpassing it. We can be our own worst critics, but one can't help as to wonder what could have been in this isolated universe 200 trillion years in the future. Well, if you enjoyed the video, consider hitting that subscribe button for more Minecraft-related content. Also, make sure to follow my socials, but that's it for today, everyone. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time.